It sucks to be a white American. Now hold on, give me a chance, let me explain.
Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Strana. Thank you so much for all the love and support. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP.
Please,
So
I came
lovelies.
across these stitches on my For You, and I thought to share because I actually find these stitches interesting. Where some group of punk color people decided to come out to clear the air, they reveal why they actually feel way and says to us, people that looks like me, and also they talked about how Ray and Sis has actually been the order of the day, and the reason why they felt that this is something that might not be dismantled in a recent time. Probably, I'm just going to roll the clip as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. Alright, lovelies, let's dive
It
into it.
sucks to be a white American. Now hold on, give me a chance, let me explain. I want you to think of the kind of person who would put on a White Lives Matter sticker on the back of their Ford pickup. Why do they do that? Is it all racism? Well, yeah. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that. White Americans basically have no culture, not in the same way we see other people. And we white people, we know this inherently, and it scares us. We know we have our regional cultures. Our cities, our sports teams, and families all give us our regional culture, but being white basically means nothing, or generally at least nothing positive. White people throughout American history are almost always seen on the side of the oppressors. Not all white people, but most of us. And this sucks to learn. It's even harder to internalize. And it's why white people usually don't accept this, because it makes us feel a deep sense of guilt. I think it's why white people say nonsense like, I can't be racist, I have black friends. Sure, you probably don't see black people as objects, but you're refusing to accept the role our people have had in their oppression. That guilt we feel is our responsibility for the actions of our ancestors. It's why white people refuse to say that black people deserve reparation, because it admits our guilt. But black people deserve reparations. It just makes sense logically. You can sue someone for scratching your car, but black people can't sue the American government for the enslavement of their people. My people are arresting and deporting Mexican families from this country. Think about that. We are telling people that they are not allowed on the land we stole. Let's go a step further. White people stole a sacred land site from the people indigenous to this land and then carved 4 white people's faces on it, most of which were slave owners. I mean, Mount Rushmore is a place that we look at and we're like, oh cool, giant faces. But to other people, it's a giant form of oppression, and admitting that and coming to terms with that sucks. We suck, dude. My people really and truly suck. Not all of us contributed to this oppression, but we are all a part of it. And this will mostly sound like virtue signaling. It will mostly sound like, look at how rough we are. But there is a reality to admitting this guilt and being honest with it. Because white people are afraid to do this. And we're afraid to admit it because my people are weak. White people are weak. We have power we have given ourselves, and put down the cultures that are stronger than us because we know that we're weak. If white Americans were oppressed the same way black, native, or Mexican American people are, we would crack like glass. Our culture and identity as white people is so meaningless that we do everything in our power to keep other people down so that we don't break from having someone else on top. I think that's why you see white Americans championing white pride, not just out of ignorance or racism, but it's because they are scared. They're scared to come to terms with their guilt, scared to admit they're wrong, and terrified to acknowledge that we may have all the societal, economic, and political power, but as a people we are weak. But this isn't the way it has to be forever. I have hope that one day my people will finally take responsibility for what we have done. I hope that we'll collectively accept our role in the oppression of our non-white brothers and sisters and finally take action. And it will take the action of us white folks. It's not just non-white people that have to fight for their rights. It's us too fighting for them, because our cross to bear is being born white. Being born with the skin color of the oppressors means that we have to fight to be nothing like them. We're not near that right now. America is in a tumultuous stage where it very much does not feel like white people are acknowledging where they went wrong. But I want to have hope, and I refuse to accept that one day justice won't prevail. Collectively, we can all shed the shadow of oppression and share this place together. And that's the message I want to end with. I want to be hopeful that one day oppression will be something taught in history class, something that we don't have to see ourselves in. That's my hope. Anyway, I want to be optimistic in the end. Anyway, that's it. Thanks. Systemic racism is hidden from white people in America. So I've been making a lot of videos about race over the past little bit, and because of that I've had a lot of conversations with white people over racism in America. And something they have all said when they disagree with my points is they act like racism is a thing of the past, or that they're isolated incidents, not racism as a whole. And from their perspective, I understand why. How could a racist country have a black president? How could a racist country have rich black people? If a black person can rise to any level in American society, then how are we racist? You all aren't willing to let it go and want to be the victim. And so many of them said this that I started to realize that this was a taught response for white people. And I think I've probably said the same thing before. So I started to look into this, and I learned something. The systems of racism in this country are designed to be hidden from white people and to keep white people colorblind. And it works exceptionally well. In the 50s and 60s, you would have to be literally blind and deaf to not see racist systems in this country. But today, you could go your whole life as a white person thinking American racism is a thing of the past, and that's exactly what the people in power want you to think. And it's in part the fault of white people who choose to remain ignorant when presented with the facts, but they're also victims of a system that rewards complacency. Why would we change? It doesn't benefit us in any way to acknowledge systemic racism. Remaining ignorant is the white survival strategy. But what's crazy is just how powerful this system is, and it still manages to be hidden from white people. You can find systemic racism in education, healthcare, housing, employment, immigration, hell, even environmental racism. It is everywhere. Yet white people still have to go out looking for it to see it. There's a lot more about this, but I'm going to end it here. If you're a white person watching this video, I heavily encourage you to learn more about systemic racism, because it will teach you a lot about yourself, and you'll join the ranks of white people that want to change. Martin Luther King Jr. said that white and black folks are tied together in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. And by deciding to change, it's our first step towards generational change. And one day, the system will fall apart because there's no one left willing to uphold it. And that'll be all, guys. Peace.
Racism is about jealousy. If you think that's a reductive statement, please stick with me. When I say jealousy, I'm talking about insecurity, which is really what jealousy is, but I think it's easier to understand if I say insecurity rather than just jealousy. Because we know from appropriation that we are very jealous of other cultures. Why would we want to listen to the music, eat the food, wear the clothes, do the hairstyles, have everything, the language, but not give credit where credit is due and not uplift the people who created it? White people are so lost in feeling like they don't have a connection to culture, especially many of us who are very far removed from our European roots. And I think the need to fill that space and that insecurity of this lack of culture and lack of something to call our own is often filled with cultural appropriation and the idea that being white is superior. I was first introduced to this concept of racism being jealousy in college, and I can't trace it back to one particular scholar, but I would like to give credit where credit is due to that black scholar. If you can find anything tracing it to one particular person, please leave that in the comments. I think it's important to think about racism in this way if we want to unlearn it. Because, as some people say who are non-monogamous, or anyone who's just working on their relationships, jealousy is an indicator that something is not quite right with us. It's an indicator of our insecurity and how we might be feeling. It's not about what our partner is doing or what someone on Instagram is doing with their life that makes us feel inadequate. It's about something going on inside. And I think we really need to interrogate that. What is it about people of color showing excellence, people of color maybe being more in touch with culture, people of color being more in touch with the environment, people of color making better food, and everything else that we envy? What does that trigger in us? And why do we have the need to put those people down? It's about jealousy. And if we can figure out that we're feeling that way and trace that feeling back to maybe some of our unconscious biases, I think it's a lot easier to start thinking about, how can we unlearn that? How can I feel secure in my identity as a white person who has roots in maybe Italian and like other cultures, but like doesn't really feel connected to anything? How can I feel secure in myself to not want to put others down, whether that be racism or any other form of discrimination, or just plain hating on another woman because she's amazing? You know, I think this makes it seem like racism is very simple, but it also just helps us frame it in a way that's accessible to us. We know that dismantling racism starts with individual work, and personal growth is all about thinking about the hard things about yourself and the things and parts of yourself that you don't like. And jealousy is one of those things. No one wants to be jealous. It's an awful, awful feeling. And we don't want to admit that we're jealous. And we shy away from that, but it's something we can interrogate, and I think that is going to help us go a long way. Anyway, just my thoughts. Happy Juneteenth. I hopefully will speak about this more coherently in the future. Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
Racism. Let's talk about it. I'm married to an African man. I've been married to him for 14 years. I get so many dirty looks from African women. We were just at the store last night and we were having a great time. Go and get some yummy fruits and we were vibing, right? All of us were just having so much fun. I got so many shitty looks from just absolutely gorgeous African women. A long time ago, I would just make myself smaller and just kind of walk away. But I'm checking out and I'm paying for my stuff, and this woman is staring so hard into my soul. And I see her and I feel her energy coming to me, right? And I just reach around and I grab my husband and I hold on to my husband. Because it's my husband, okay? And that's what I get so sick and tired of. Because if he was a white man, he would be my husband. He's an African man. He's still my husband. I've gone through the struggles with him. I've grown up with him. He's my man. And I look at her and she does this whole eye roll and goes, "Oh, big thing," okay? I got so pissed off. So I looked straight back in her eyes and I smiled. I smiled at her like she was my best friend. And she dropped her eyes, dropped her face, and looked down because she knew what she was doing was wrong. And I am not making myself small anymore. This is my family. This is my husband. And I'm not giving him back to the community. And I'm not doing any of that bullshit. I'm so sick of racism. And I'm sick of it on both sides. I'm sick of white people doing their weird shit.
I could not make this shit up if I tried. I just cannot. And I need you guys to stay with me because this is probably going to blow your mind as much as it blew mine. So I had this patient, and this patient was extremely, extremely drowsy. And there was nothing that she was taking that should make her that drowsy. She was just like, I cannot hold my eyes open. Like, I am so drowsy. So I started questioning, are you taking anything that you are not prescribed, like vitamins, supplements, anything else, anything that you have changed in your diet or your life? And she says, no, not really. She's like, the only thing I take is melatonin. And I said, okay. And I said, how often are you taking melatonin and how many milligrams? She said, well, she said, I take it about 4 times a day. She said, I think those are 10 or 20 milligrams. She was like, but I'm trying to get the highest dose. She said, so I can get a really good tan before the end of the summer. And I said, huh? And she said, yeah. She said, you know, the higher the dose, the more you're going to tan. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you know, she was like, the more you take the melatonin, the more you're going to tan. She's like, I'm trying to get up to the highest dose. And I was like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And I was like, but I hope you're not taking melatonin all day and all night long. And she said, well, yeah. She was like, because she said, I would rather just take the pill than lay out in the sun. And I said, take the pill? She was like, I can see now you don't know what you're doing. I said, ma'am, I'm trying to understand what you are saying here. And she says, I'm taking the melatonin. She was like, because I don't want to lay in the sun. I said, so you're taking melatonin to tan? She was like, yes. She was like, because you know, that's what black people have in their skin. And that's it. I about fell out. I don't like, what the fuck is she talking about? And I'm like, ma'am, I'm like, I think you mean melanin, and baby, you can't buy that in a bottle. I'm like, what you are taking is a sleep aid, and that is why you are so freaking drowsy. And she looks at me like I'm totally stupid. Like I have no fucking idea what is going on. And she's like, so that's not melatonin that's in their skin? I was like, no, that is melanin. And baby, you have to be born with it. That is not something you can buy in a bottle. You might want to throw them fucking melatonins away before your ass goddamn collapse some fucking where. I can't make this shit up.
Like, seriously, lovelies, when I came across these stitches, I was like, if it's coming from the horse's mouth, I think that this is actually a valid reason. I want to actually emphasize more on the case of the first, is it the second pan colored woman I talked about? How Ray and Sis is actually channeled into jealousy, and which I vividly agree with her. I agree with her in the sense that, let's just take for instance, hair, braiding of hair, and cultural appropriations, where sometimes most of these pan-colored people, more specifically the women, decide to braid their hair. Like they decide to maybe change the name of the hair just to fit their own narrative. Then go ahead to braid this hair, and after which they face the repercussion. It actually reminds me of a particular incident that happened with Nira Smith. I don't know if you guys know Nira Smith. She wore a particular hairstyle which happens to be cornrows, a braid cornrows. So a pan-colored woman decided to come out to call upon so many pan-colored women, telling them that there is a new hairstyle that is actually meant for people that looks like them, like pan-colored people and all of that. Which in her case, it's not black people's hair, like not black people's hairstyle and thereabout. So she was like, "This is Nora Smith hair. This is not black people's hair. It was not invented out." I was like, "This is still cornrows." They will rather not give credit to the reinventors of anything. They will rather not give that credit and just claim it. Like, I think them not giving that credit, it's out of jealousy. It out of, no, you guys are not supposed to invent nothing. You guys are not meant to have nothing. You guys are just meant to follow while we lead. There is a stitch that I put up 2 days ago about a pan colored woman that is copying words to words of a a black trans woman. She goes on write down her script about how she does her thing, her talking one like words to words, and she decided to start doing it on her own platform. And when she was called out, She was crying. People were like, you could have just waited her video or give credit to her or try to, but not doing like one or one to one, making it, try to claim it, try to make it, hers. So what I say is jealousy is the fact that maybe when they see that you are doing something, they just want to put themselves into that shoe and get you out. That's why it's as if some things these people like to like claim things that they were never the ones that invented it. They will rather, steal things from you. They will rather try to get things that they knew deep inside of them they are not the original owner or the original inventor. This also have everything to do with jealousy. There is a brother that I stitched his video that talked about how these people are obsessed with people that looks like me, with black people, in short, generally. And I really agree with him. When someone is so obsessed with you, obsession can lead to hate. Obsession can lead to jealousy. Obsession can lead to you wanting to be that person, you having, hat inside of you because of that person. When you see this person is actually growing, you look for ways to bring this person down or try to even steal this person's identity. And this is what that has been going on. And this is why when a black person is living in a very comfortable neighborhood and some group of colored people out of jealousy, like even if they knew deep inside of them they are also living in a said comfortable neighborhood, but because of that jealous of you as a black person not supposed to live in this kind of neighborhood, they tend to harass you. They tend to like, no, you don't live here, we need to call 911, we need to, what are you doing here? And when you were like, I live in this place, I live in this neighborhood, they become so like angry, like, oh my god. Even if they knew deep inside of them that you are not even trespassing, you are not even getting to their own, doorstep, but they just don't want you. They just want you to be on a particular lane. So to them, you as a black person, you're supposed to be on a particular level which they need to be above you. And if you're someone doing better than them, instead of appreciating your works, appreciating your efforts, your invention, they become so angry, they become so jealous, and return regencies begins. It also happens everywhere. It happens in corporate jobs and all of that. So when I saw this, I thought that I was just gonna put it up here. Why not just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video? Please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We just here for educational and informative purposes. So please, lovely, share this video, subscribe if you're here to do that, and I will see you, lovely, when I
Go to click
upload.
on the subscription
Yes.
button, like, and I will see you, lovely, when I upload.